the Center for Human Rights and Development is the program of TFDP that is in charge with conducting research and documenting human rights violations and cases, and of giving human rights education and trainings to different groups and individuals. From our initial discussion with Bunmi, she's interested in the documentation part. So that's what her work with us will be. She will be oriented with the different skills in documenting and also in fact-finding, interviewing victims. She will be joining the staff in field visits and in exposure trips to different areas. Like last week, she was able to join them in the exposure to a mining area in Nueva Vizcaya. And then one time, she also joined in the activity for the victims of involuntary disappearance. But basically, she's interested in the our style of documenting, like the forms that we use when we conduct interviews, when we interview the victims and their families.
I found out that the task force Itini has vast experience in fact-finding and documentation of human rights abuses. I was shown a lot of their documents to go through, and one of those documents was the manual they have on a handbook on fact-finding and documentation. So I went through the manual and I was able to find out the reasons and the importance of fact-finding and documentation. Apart from that, I had access to looking at their shelves, their cabinets. These are where you have their files and files of documentation. I went through some of those files and I very well documented based on regions and regions. Yes, they have them in regions. So complaints coming from all those regions are well documented. So when I went through some of those files, I could see how important documentation and fact-finding is. Not only because of our immediate use, but also to help tie up with international bodies.
The Philippines is a good area where interns can learn the dynamics, the mechanics even of monitoring and documenting human rights violation in a country where the perpetrators of human rights violations go free because of the culture of impunity. Also, if we look at the situation where the whole range of human rights violations are actually happening in the country.
Bunmi is from the NGO in Nigeria. She experienced some things while in Nigeria, like the present experience of the NGOs here in the Philippines. So the more important thing that she'd benefit from it is how the Commission works with the NGOs, how the coordination goes. And one thing that is important also that she'd learn from the Commission on Human Rights is it's very important projects, programs and services that may be of help to the NGOs in Nigeria.
The second part is to do an on-site training in Nigeria for the same organization to which the intern belongs, which is the JDPC. So JDPC has a network all over Nigeria, and they also have contacts and networks with other human rights NGOs in Nigeria.
From what I've learned, the issue of developing a format for receiving complaints from victims of human rights abuse, very important. We're going to look at that. We're going to try to develop a database too for fact-finding and documentation. We're going to try to establish a good storing facility for easy retrieval of those documents as well. That I've found very important. So those are the learnings I've gotten from the fact-finding and documentation that are very important and useful to the work in Nigeria. They'll be very important and useful to the work in Nigeria.
The second part of the program was the on-site training that I mentioned earlier, and there we trained about 60 participants from all over Nigeria, all part of the JDPC network. The participants who attended had different backgrounds. They were working on different human rights issues, and also they there were different levels of experience too.
And documentation is simply the process of systematically recording and organizing information for easy storage and retrieval. You have a blank form like this, what we call fields and what we call attributes of that particular format. So in this particular case, we are talking about a victim format, so you have the name, the age, the address, so on and so forth. So it's a more structured way of recording your interview notes. If you are not sure, because the information might not be accurate, you need to corroborate it. As before, the standard should be from a variety of formats, which basically or essentially says the same thing.
It takes more than just passion to use the space, and that it also takes a kind of planning and intellectual strategizing to make impact.
Well, during the program, at every point of the program, I see myself and I see my organization as, because we have the desire. And I've already noted down some issues which when I get back, we'll address these issues. And we'll now apply them in our human rights works. And I think with that, we'll make greater impact than we are making already.